Hey everyone, thanks for checking out this video. I wanted to share with you a Bible study that I have done, and it's something that has been on my mind for quite some time. In fact, probably since November of 2022. And again, it was a scripture that came to me when I was very ill, and it was before I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer in November of 2022. And so this is about the pool of Bethesda and the man that was basically paralyzed or an invalid for 38 years, and Jesus came and healed him. And so I wanted to share it because it's near and dear to my heart, and so I really hope that you get a lot out of it. And please, if you have any questions or anything like that, please comment in the comments below. I'm excited to share it, and it's basically my first ever online message or anything like that around this scripture. So I hope you enjoy it, and please, again, if you like the video, and comment. Feel free to comment with whatever you want, and I will respond. Thank you again, and I hope you enjoy. Right here, it's a very short paragraph, and it has so much in it. So I wanted to talk about this with you because it means so much to me when I was not feeling well and on the couch and just feeling like, I'm not doing well here. And I just felt like God spoke this scripture over me, especially verse 8, get up, pick up your mat and walk. And so I wanted to talk about this. I've been studying this, and I've broken it down, and I've learned a lot about this, and wanted to talk about how, let's just go ahead and read. So John chapter 5, sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now there is in Jerusalem near the sheep gate a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. Now I highlighted a couple things here because I think these are really important. And whenever I study scripture, I usually pick out the things that I have questions about. Like, first of all, I don't know what a sheep gate is. Never heard of it. And so I learned that basically sheep gate was right next to the pool. And the sheep gate was basically where they came to slaughter and sacrifice sheep. So you can imagine that there are these people that are lying around this pool of water, and right next to it, you can hear the sheep getting sacrificed. Like, I couldn't even imagine how that wouldn't help my healing, is hearing that the slaughter going on next door, right? So the pool was right next to that, and it was surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. Now the colonnades were basically like patio coverings. So these coverings would cover the people that were there that were lame, blind, paralyzed, that had this all these things going on, and it would protect them from the elements. So that tells me that there's not like a building or anything like that. And I also want to share with you that one of the other things that I learned was that this pool, at Bethesda, this was a place that was outside of the city. It was outside of where the common folk were, the regular people, so to speak. So these people that were that were lying there, and that they couldn't walk, or they couldn't see, or maybe they were deaf, whatever disability they had, they were basically cast out to this place that was not anywhere near the city. So that, they're out of sight, out of mind, and that sounds very unfortunate that they weren't accepted into the city. And so that's a couple things that I learned there from picking those parts out. And so anyway, as we continue, it says here, a great number of disabled people used to lie: the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. Okay, this stuck out to me as well. 38 years. I should have highlighted 38 years. Can you imagine being in this place for 38 years? You're surrounded by other people that are suffering, that are, they're pretty much in the same boat you're in. And Jesus actually sought him out. He went to him and said, when Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" So he really went to him. Well, the response that he got was interesting, right? So for me, my first instinct was to say, "Wow, like he didn't even say yes." Like for me, like imagine being there that long. You would think that you would be like, "Yes, definitely, let's do it." However, you have to remember that he didn't know who Jesus was because he wasn't in the city at all. He wasn't around any of that. He had been the outcast, so he wasn't in the regular village, right? So Jesus was basically setting an example. And his response was somewhat, I would say, somewhat of a victim response that, you know, he wasn't, he's just basically saying that, like, there's nobody here to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. And while I'm trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me. So basically, he can't get to the pool. So I can imagine him crawling and people walking around him or over him or whatever. Now, I do want to go back to the pool of Bethesda and what the people believed. So the people believed that basically, whenever there was a ripple in the pool, so you could see where it says, "When I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred." So what's stirring the water? Well, they believe that maybe it was an angel or maybe it was God that was stirring the water. And whenever God stirred the water, the first one to get to the pool would be healed. They would be cured of whatever they had. That was their belief. And so they believed that. And they believed that for however long they believed it. And this guy had been believing it for 38 years and nothing was different. And so to me, like, I kind of apply this to life where it's like doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So that was an Einstein quote, that's a definition of insanity, right? And so anyway, so he'd been there 38 years, a really long time. And then when Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he'd been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" He wasn't asking. It basically, it's a yes or no question, right? It's not like I don't need any other response. However, the guy says, "Sir," the invalid replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water's stirred. While I'm trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me," which could be the case. And like he, I think the other lesson here too is I have no one to help me. I think the other lesson with this too is that Jesus is helping him in his time of need. He's coming to him and he's offering that help right now. Like, because basically Jesus says to him, "Get up, pick up your mat and walk." He's just telling him, like, this is it, dude. Like, we're doing it right now. And basically he's cured. And at once the man was cured and he picked up his mat and he walked. Wow. Like, can you imagine after all that time and this man, you don't even know, he just comes out of nowhere, comes to this place after all this time. He's been suffering all this time. And this man just comes to this place and just says, "You want to get well? Okay, get up, pick up your mat and walk." So I just think it's amazing. It's an amazing story. And the day on which this took place was the Sabbath, as you could see, continuing on in verse 9. And so the Jewish leader said to the man who had been healed, "It is the Sabbath. The law forbids you to carry your mat." So this really sticks out to me too, because it's the Sabbath and Jesus really is a pot stirrer, right? Like, he's like, "You know what? It doesn't matter what day it is. I could heal you any day. There is no limit. There is no limit what I can do." And so the man replies to the leaders and says, "Well, the man who made me well said to me, 'Pick up your mat and walk.'" So of course the man's going to do it. So they said, "Well, who is this guy? Who is this fellow who told you to pick it up and walk?" And the man who was healed had no idea who it was, for Jesus slipped away into the crowd that was there. Now again, I'm inferring that he had no idea who it was because he was at this pool for 38 years. He had been outcast there for that long. Like, he didn't know about Jesus. Well, now he's learning. So later on, Jesus finds him at the temple and says to him, "See, you're well again." Stop sinning or something worse may happen to you. The man went away and told the Jewish leaders that it was Jesus who had made him well. So now he knows who Jesus is. Now, I had a difficult time with stop sinning or something worse may happen to you. I had a little trouble with this. And so I really just sat with that for a little while and prayed about this. And one of the things that I think is possible is that Jesus knew what caused him to be there. Jesus knew what caused him to be paralyzed. I don't know what it was. I don't know what his life choice was to make that happen, but something happened. Now, for me, and the way that I apply this to my life is I look at, okay, I was, before I was diagnosed with the cancer that I was diagnosed with, I was really just running myself into the ground. And bigger than that, I was separate from God. I wasn't, I don't want to say I was separate. I would say I was distant. I wasn't really working on my relationship very much. And I mean, I think I was just starting to get back into really my faith and all of that. But I just feel like I had a distance, and that I was allowing things to come in between me and my relationship with Christ. And that's a sin, right? Anything that takes us away from the God that loves us is really a sin. So that's how I look at sin. It's not necessarily like I lied, even though, like could be considered a sin. It's just more for me, it's more of a separation from the God that I love, the God that loves me, and all of that stuff. So anyway, I just hope that you got some takeaways from this. So my things were, what I got from this passage was that, that Jesus will seek us out even if we're not looking for him, and that he will heal us even in the most unforeseen, most impossible circumstances. Like, again, this was the Sabbath. Like, this was unheard of. You don't break the Sabbath laws, right? And actually, what else is really cool is that he showed himself. Jesus showed himself to this man. And I do also believe that by Jesus going to this pool with all these other people there, guess what? Now all these other people know who Jesus is. When they were outcast to this place where nobody would go, the villagers wouldn't go there, but Jesus went. And Jesus actually went there. He left the Jewish festival, like these big celebrations they were having. He left to go to this man, and he set an example. And so I really hope that you got something out of this. I would really love your input and your what you get out of this passage. And if anything I've said has resonated with you, I just absolutely love this passage. And anyway, hope you got a lot out of it, and I will see you in the next lesson.